Have you ever wondered why this shot feels like your grandma just bought a new iPhone? Well, this shot feels like absolute cinema. In this video, you'll learn the 10 laws all movies use in order to create beautiful cinematic shots and manipulate your emotions. If you master these laws, all your designs will improve tremendously, making you look like a pro. But if you ignore them, well, even AI will refuse to generate images that were trained on your model. Oh, and stick around because number 5 is the greatest lighting hack you'll ever learn, and number 8 is the worst one that everybody hates but still gets used to this day. Warning, this video might change the way you see movies and shows forever, and I'm not accountable for any induced depression, damnation or despair. There's a secret color technique Hollywood uses to create an aesthetic shot 100% of the time. Nobody knows why it works, but it does. Can you already see what it is? I use my programming skills to determine the color variation in this shot. Primary color that takes up about 60%, then you want a secondary color that takes up about 30%, a cherry on top color that takes around 10%. Now watch what happens when we distort the balance. It's kind of like a disordered closet that brings a lot of chaos, but people actually like order and explanations, which is where the next technique shines. Do you feel a sense of unease when you look at this shot? Well, so do I. What people like to see is motivated lighting. This means that it simply makes sense that a subject is lit in a certain way. In order to achieve that, there's a very simple trick. My face on this side is lit by a professional light, but by adding a practical light in the background, it gives motivation as to where the light is coming from. It makes the shot feel more natural. But the next part is one of the most underutilized lighting techniques. There's no reason to run away from this lighting trick, even though it's a bit scarier and a bit harder to accomplish. It's called dynamic lighting. Under this technique fall moving lights, flickering lights, and changing colors. But if you really want to add some extra oomph in your lighting, you might be interested in Hollywood's secret sauce. And no, it's not an overpowered female, adrenochrome, or a complete lack of creativity. It's actually something way deeper than that. If you have a very flat looking scene, the best way to overcome that is to add some good old fog. Since the fog gets denser, the further away the camera is, the more depth it will create in your scene. The good part about fog, which are actually little water particles, is that light interacts with it, causing us to see lighting more directly. So if you want to add some subtle depth to your scene, use fog. However, the next one is one of my favorite lighting tricks of all time. Lighting is not only light, it's also shadow, creating interesting patterns that are visually pleasing to look at. Gobos are a cheap way to act as if lighting is being blocked by objects that don't actually exist. This is especially helpful in Blender since more objects cost more computation power, which increases your render times. For an example of a real-life gobo, you can see in the back right there's a shadow pattern on the wall. If you're interested, I've built an entire gobo pack with 365 gobos that integrates seamlessly with Blender's asset browser. It's also part of the King of Light bundle pack, which is the all-in-one lighting solution for Blender. This basically allows you to go to war with high-level mecha suits, atomic rockets versus people who use sticks and silly putty. So check out the link in the description. However, you also want to stick around for the next one because this is one of the lighting fundamentals everybody in lighting needs to know. If you can't see it yet or haven't seen it during this entire presentation, it's time to buckle up. First, we place a strong light at a 45-degree angle from the subject. Then we place a soft light on a 45-degree angle on the other side. You can move it at a further distance or make sure that the light source is a lot bigger, which makes the light softer. This fills in shadows in the face or any part that is underlit. Finally, you want to separate the foreground from the background using a rim light. So the rim light's making sure that the foreground element is being separated from the background, otherwise everything will be squished together and it makes the image look flat. This setup is called the 3-point lighting setup. It is one of the fundamental lighting setups everybody who works in design should know. If you want to have a little bit more than a TPL, then this next technique is for you. Sometimes you need those extra touches in your light just to make the scene 1% better. Can you see the difference between this shot and this shot? Pretty interesting, right? Well, I like this one better. The reason for this is that my hair shines a bit more, invoking youthfulness and an eternal shine that radiates my beautiful lion mane's exuding power and evolutionary supremacy over the mortals of this earth. I mean, it creates some cool lighting on the top. Speaking of top, let's also talk about the bottom, because the next lighting trick is as much loved as it is hated by self-proclaimed cinema experts. Let's check it out. Why did everybody hate how dark this movie was, but loved how dark this movie was?
You merely adopted the dark.
There's a great discussion going on where some people are absolutely hating the fact that there's too much darkness being used in movies, while the opposite side says that it creates depth and mood. Using darkness definitely helps with conveying emotions. It would be hard to have a serious Batman movie where everybody is running around in pink tutus and a gleeful and joyful experience with a glowing shine all over the screen. On the other hand, it would feel out of place to light Barbie as if she's an underground billionaire living in the cave. What do you think? Is the darkness gaining too much power, or is it a necessary evil to create an experience better light. Let everybody know your highly validated and cultured opinion in the comments, and let's go over to the next cool lighting trick. Remember when you used to squeeze your eyes towards the light and you would get all these beams and rays? Well, it's in your favorite movies now too. As a matter of fact, since the advent of CGI, it's kind of mandatory. Lens flares and glows are an easy way to incorporate CG elements back into the scene, because the glow is going over the foreground and the background elements, making it seem as if everything is happening in a coherent space. Which is also why most CG scenes do this meme. I personally like the way they look, and when I'm out filming and I happen to catch one in my lens, I'm like, yeah, this is cool, this is special, let's keep it in. And the next lighting trick will make you stay hard. Now, there's a pretty big difference between hard lights and soft lights. Hard lights, like the sun, give a pretty harsh shadow on your face, for example. But soft lights give this glowy look that makes it look really cinematic. Most people prefer soft lights, since it gives a greater control over the shadows and makes it more gradient. A lot of indie filmmakers actually like filming when it's cloudy outside, because the clouds act as some sort of diffusion for the sun that makes the light a lot more soft. Of course, golden hour, which does have the sun directly shining, is also a very good option. Now that we've reached the end, I will give you 2 more bonus tips in 30 seconds. Add water to the ground for more intricate reflections. This always looks cool and makes it less flat. From orange to teal, from dark to light, from soft shadows to hard shadows, usually it comes down to one principle, and that is contrast. You want to create visual depth by contrasting different elements with each other. Good luck, check out the King of Light bundle pack for the all-in-one lighting solution in Blender, and click on this video next to learn everything about Blender's lighting tools.